Hey everyone, how's it going? And welcome back to Citywide Blackout, your home for music, movies, and more. I'm your host, Max Bowen. Well, here it is. Happy New Year, and welcome to our first episode of 2022. We're kicking things off with Leah Hinton to talk about her new single, Away. This song took Leah in some new musical directions with an upbeat, hopeful message. We dive into this and the contribution of Jodron Peace, with whom she's worked with in the past. Leah calls New York City home, but that wasn't always the case. She's born and raised in North Carolina and attended Berklee College of Music in Boston, and we talk about what each location had to offer. We also look at her forthcoming debut full-length album, coming out later this year. Talking to New York-based artist Leah Hinton. There is a lot going on here. She has a brand new single, Away, recently released, that has been an absolute joy to listen to. Leah, welcome to the show. It is so cool having you here.
Thank you so much, Max. Glad to be here.
All right. So, listening to the single, and this was again released last fall,
Mhm.
it's definitely, I think, a new vibe for you in terms of like style and sound. Most of your
Mhm.
stuff is a little more chill. I'd like to ask
Mhm.
you about finding the sound for the song and kind of how you went about doing that.
Yeah, it is a fresh sound for me as well, and definitely new as far as using just full digital production. Um, I really just wrote the song in my room, just messing around with some piano chords and melodies and things. And when I went to think about how I wanted the final result to be, I just kind of thought about, hey, let's do it digitally. um, I would love to have a band, but I want to kind of express myself in a different way for this song. And so I ended up reaching out to, I made a little demo, and I reached out to a good friend of mine who I've been wanting to work with for quite some time, but schedules just never permitted. And sent him the demo, and he was like, yeah, I can definitely do something with this. And he brought it to life for
Excellent.
sure.
Excellent.
He produced the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Now,
Mhm.
let's give this guy a shout out, the person you worked with for the production.
Yes. Yes, I was just about to go there. Yeah, his stage name is Doc Jr. Um, Daniel Hargrove, aka Doc Jr. And yeah, he's a producer, piano player, um, multi instrumentalist, songwriter. Just amazing, amazing.
Excellent, excellent. And
Yes,
and
yes.
um, uh, for this single, you also worked with Jodron Peace, whom you last worked with in
Mm-hmm.
2015 for Sun Kissed. How
Yes.
long have you guys known each other, and what's it been like to work with him?
Yeah, it's always a pleasure working with Jordan. I've known him since college, so I'm trying to think which exact year, but definitely around 2000, maybe 2012. Yeah, probably around 2012. So I've been knowing him for quite a while.
Excellent, excellent. And he has
Yes.
such a great rap style. It's so like
Mm-hmm.
fluid and precise at the same time.
Yes. Yes, I love it. So fresh just along with the song, right? It really, to me, it really added that extra layer of freshness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Mhm.
when you were like working with him, when you were like sort of going with the lyrics, did you give him any kind of pointers, any kind of like direction for how you wanted his contribution to be?
Mm-mm. He's an artist and is in his own right, and his thoughts are very creative. All he did was ask for my lyrics of my verses, and I sent that to him, and sent him the track as well, and then he just went to work. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Now, I want to ask about the general tone of the song. Again, it's very like
Mhm.
upbeat, uplifting, high energy.
Mhm.
Was that kind of, I'm just wondering if that was kind of in response to what has been a very tough couple of years for artists in general?
Mm. Yeah. It definitely, well, so I wrote it pre the pandemic. But even just choosing to, go ahead and release it at that time, it definitely was kind of in the midst of, just all the craziness that has been happening. Um, with racial tension and maybe religious tension, and of course the pandemic, and just we can't get enough of just craziness at this point. And so it definitely was something that I wanted to do to just kind of uplift people's spirits, but in a fun way. I love ballads, I love slow songs, but I wanted to just make people just kind of groove a little bit with an encouraging message. Yeah.
And what would you say that message is?
Definitely the message is drawing close to, for me, is God. So drawing close to love, whatever that love is to you, drawing close to that, and kind of getting away from old things that just aren't for you. It's a song of transformation. So, the deep rooted message is coming into a newness, coming into a new self, but also just drawing close to, whatever that love is for you.
Okay. I feel like there's a lot to unpack there, especially because I've definitely seen the notion of faith has been kind of a
Hmm.
recurring theme in your music.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, because I know the faith can always be very
Hmm.
tricky when it comes to how you deliver it.
Yes, it and it is. I think for every artist who tries to do that, it can be a little tricky at times. It's always been important to me, and that was something I had to think about even, you know, before I put out, my first song ever. And I really wanted spirituality and God um, to be a part of my music because he's so important to me in my life. And not to say that if you don't talk about God in your music that he's not important to you. I'm not saying that. You could do however you want to. It's your decision, your relationship. But I just wanted to be able to share God and share love with people in a different way, not just your standard gospel song or your standard Christian, contemporary song, or, in that way. I wanted to um, keep it based off of who I am as an artist, and the music that I love, the different styles that I love to infuse together, but also still keeping that message, but
Hmm.
not banging you over the head with it.
Which is the hard
Also,
thing to
it
do.
is,
It's so hard to
yeah,
avoid because you hear like you
yeah,
listen to a song and start talking about faith, you think, oh boy, here we go,
yeah,
another like a Catholic like guilt trip basically
yeah,
to
yeah.
worship God and do this and convert and so forth.
Hmm.
But if we can, I'd like to talk about like your own faith, about like
Hmm.
how you practice it, but also how you talk about it with other people.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And a lot of what you learn comes from your upbringing. But of course, as you get older, you got to make those decisions on your own and in trueness to yourself. But growing up, I grew up in the church, and it was never something where we had to do it. We did have to do it in a sense, but it wasn't, how can I put it? It wasn't like, okay, kids, we have to go to church. I don't care what you say. It wasn't like a forceful type thing. You know what I mean? And we enjoyed church as kids. It was fun. We had, kids' church and different events and different activities that the kids could do while learning about God. So it was always fun. And so that definitely had a lot to do with it. I never thought of religion or God as boring or just, too far away or anything like that. I really understood it as, God is here with me and for me. That walking with God is interesting, and you don't have to be this very strict, only wear these clothes, only do this, only, that kind of thing. My parents are very open to different ways of expression. um, we've always loved the arts, so it was just a real natural way to look at a relationship. It's a relationship. That's all it is.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. You also mentioned earlier that the song also touches on the theme of like newness, the newness of self.
Hmm.
I'd like to
Yeah.
ask about what's sort of like new about you, about like recent changes in your own life.
Mm. Very good question. Yeah, definitely Happy New Year. No. Well, we're definitely in a new year, and I think even over the past couple years during the pandemic and even a little before that, I feel I've been kind of growing into a new person. As you get older, I feel like there are different, kind of sections of age where you go through this type of season and that type of growing. I'm definitely in a season of growth as far as just being, I don't want to say being more confident because I feel I am a generally confident person, but I think more confident in doing everything I want to do. Because I feel like for a few years, I knew I could do those things, but I felt like it was just a bit less attainable, maybe at that point. And I think it was the pandemic was kind of a wake up call for a lot of us just to kind of remember what's important, getting back to your dreams or getting back to, closeness with your family or getting back to spirituality or, what's important to you. And I really feel like I'm kind of getting back into that. Like I started taking voice lessons again. I'm trying to do a lot better with my health. I'm trying to exercise more and eat a bit more healthy, and these different things that really are important to my well-being.
Hmm.
So
I've seen
yeah.
that from a lot of folks, whether they did, music or they're writers or like artists, that having this time where everything in their life really came to a halt was almost a good thing for them because they had the time to take a long pause and say, okay, what am I doing? Because before it's just like
Yes.
grind, 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 do,
Mhm.
thing, spot, spot,
Mhm.
spot. You don't get time to just pause and say, okay, where am I even going with this? So it sounds like you kind of had the
Yes.
time to not only answer that question, but to also make time for some more very important self care.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
I want to ask a little bit more about the last couple of years because, as I mentioned at
Mm.
the outset of the show, you are based out of New York City, and of course, New York, one of the
Mhm.
hardest hit nationwide
Mhm.
by the pandemic.
Mhm. Yes.
What was it like just having so much in your life come to this like screeching halt?
Yes, it was definitely unexpected, obviously to us all. But I moved to New York literally a few months before the pandemic and before it shut down. Yes, and thankfully I was able to, have those few months to like really hit the pavement and grind and not out of, well, maybe a little out of just trying to get it going, but but just kind of exploring and getting used to the city and meeting people and networking and going to jams and singing and things like that. I really was able to do that in those few months, so I'm grateful for that. So it made it a little easier because I still kind of had that network even as we were shutting down. But it definitely, the whole lockdown and it was really eye opening to as I mentioned before, just what's important. And I think it kind of shook a lot of us. Like, what are we gonna do? like, like, what in the world is going on? And but I appreciate the time. Like you said, I appreciate the time to just kind of sit and think. Um, I like to do that a lot anyway. But now I had even more of an excuse to do that, and I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. So, yeah, it was just a crazy time, but you try to look at the good and figure out how to get through the bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Do you think that you'd be in the same spot you are in now if this hadn't happened? Do you think you'd be a much like different person?
Ooh. Honestly, probably. I don't know if it would have happened at that point. I hope and pray it would have happened eventually, as far as the things that I've been learning and focusing on, the positive I've trying to include more of in my life. Yeah, I don't know if it would have happened as early as it did. So yeah, especially the exercising. I have never been consistent with exercising ever in life, except when I was, maybe a teenager when playing sports.
Hmm.
And that's really it. And as an adult, it's like you really have to make the time for it because our bodies are not the same, right? So I definitely appreciate that. This is the most consistent I've ever been. I'm not. I still could do better, but I'm proud. I'm proud of myself.
Exactly, and I think as long as you can make some improvement, that's a good
Yeah,
start.
exactly, exactly.
Does that help you as an artist, being having a more like active lifestyle?
For sure, for sure. Because also with singing, it's a lot of body engagement. Of course, mind, totally a lot of mind engagement, but a lot of physical engagement as well. The deep breathing, the sustaining the notes. A lot of it, if you are in tune as much as possible to your body, the better singer you'll be.
Okay.
Yeah. And then artistry in general. Yeah, I think physical fitness and mental healthness and all of that is always going to aid in the betterment of your artistry.
Agreed. Agreed. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let us go back to Away, because along with this really amazing song, you've also got the music video, which I have
Mm-hmm.
watched, and I was very, very impressed with just I would say like the overall quality. This is like very
Mm,
professional, definitely planned out.
yeah.
What's the process so for you when it comes to deciding what your video is going to be about?
Yeah. Good question. With Away, I definitely had a very clear vision of the video. And like to, I'm an extra planner when it comes to these details as far as what I like, for a video or an idea, something like art. Um, I knew I wanted to show transformation in a spiritual way. So I knew I wanted that baptism scene. So that basically was, I kind of wrapped everything around that. And as far as the details and the planning, I just write everything out in, like a chart or something, just to kind of have the notes and the visuals and even colors and images, to kind of help aid the team who's going to be producing it and filming it with me. Yeah, I just try to give as many details as possible so that they are clear on the vision. And thankfully, they were amazing. And, we had our meetings beforehand, and the planning was just very easy with them. So, shout out to producer Jordy Foster, who produced the video for me. I couldn't have asked for a better person and a better team, overall team as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of folks involved with this. Just like watching the video, there's such a large
Yeah.
crowd because because like among the scenes, there's this really
Right.
long party scene, and
Uh-huh.
there had to be like, at least like 50 people there, I think. Um,
Well, it's so crazy how that worked out. We wanted more people there. We had we had that scene at a park. And so thankfully, at a park, there's always going to be people there already. And at the time of that shot, there was a DJ just kind of, playing some tunes, and people were just out dancing and just having a nice time because it was summer, so it was warm out, and they usually have different events at that park regularly anyway. And a lot of the people that we wanted to have there unfortunately could not be there because the week we were supposed to shoot it, we had Hurricane Ida. Yeah. So all this time we planned for that weekend, And of course, getting close to the date, we kind of foresaw that it might not work out. So we just kind of stayed, um, checking the news and all of that. And of course, we had to cancel it. So we postponed it to the following weekend. And we still had a few friends available. They came out. And then again, like I said, there were people there. And so that helped as well. Yes.
So cool. So you got to like take advantage basically of this event already happening to kind of like fill out the video.
Exact. Exactly. That's exactly what we did. Yes.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah, it worked out. It
So
worked out.
how long did it take to shoot this thing?
It took just about a full day. We got there probably around 2 or 3, and we didn't finish shooting until 11 p.m. that night. Yeah, so
I
it
am
was.
always amazed that you have these like maybe 4 minute videos that took like
Right.
so many hours to shoot, not even including like shooting, editing, everything else.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
E- Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. And the editing process is all the more intense because of that.
Oh yes, as someone who does a fair amount of editing work too, I can say yeah. There's a like whatever it is, it was like
Mhm.
way longer when you started.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Definitely.
Now, was this your first music video?
So I say this is my first official music video, because it was the first time I used like an actual team, to help me bring the vision forth. I do have a music video that I actually did with a friend of mine. Shout out to Zanique Mitchell. We both just kind of filmed it together, in a field, just an open field in the summertime. And you can really take advantage of natural sunlight to get some good footage, right? So that's what we did. It was just us two shooting it. And then I edited it all. And there's like a kind of a part two because it was a duet song. So I had um, the gentleman Thomas to shoot his portion, and then we put it all together. So shout out to Thomas Stewart as well.
Yeah, yeah, and then and you've worked with a lot of folks over the years, musically especially. We mentioned Jordan earlier, Thomas Stewart the Fourth. You worked with him
Hmm.
on your previous album, Sun Kissed, and
Hmm.
a number of others. How do you approach folks when it comes to collaboration, and how do you know when they're like a good fit for what you want to do?
Very good question. A lot of these people are my friends. As far as the musicians, every musician that I've worked with so far has been a friend of mine. Yeah, so I love them as a person, and if you're already, if I already know who you are, then that of course makes it easy. And that has totally made it easy. And just being a fan of them as an artist as well, because a lot of the collaboration is them bringing your idea to life, and so they are just so talented in the way they can just add to my little bare bones of a project. And it's really a fascinating process just to see uh the transformation, again, that word. So yeah, I mean, just who they are as a person, that lets me know that I would love to work with them. Their talent, their skill, um, definitely lets me know that I would love to work with them as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Who's
Hmm.
out there that you have not worked with that you absolutely want to?
I mean, I can make a 30-page list of that. Um, mm, there are a lot of local artists that I am meeting and finding out about here in New York. A ton of those that I would like to work with. And of course, other artists that big names. One I'll say this artist called Leah C. She's one of my favorite singers. I would love to work with her. I would love to work with um, Ray Angry from the Roots. I see him around, and hopefully we will have a collaboration going on soon with my album, as we have kind of spoken about. So I'm just gonna keep putting that out there. um, and yeah, there's so many people, so many of my friends from music school that I would love to work with as well. Um, yeah, so many people, but I'll just kind of say those names.
Sometimes you just gotta keep like poking. You gotta be like, hey, let's work together. Let's work
E-
together. Let's work together.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes they will say yes just to, get you off their back.
Okay, and I'm fine with that too.
As long as it works. All right.
That's right.
So, just looking at your discography, you released your EP "Sunkissed" in 2015.
Mm,
You released
mm-hmm.
"Teach Me" in 2019, and in 2021
Mm-hmm.
you've got "Away." How would you
Yeah.
say you have grown as an artist since 2015?
Oh man. Yeah. I would definitely say I have grown. Um, a lot of the ways I've grown is just being more explorative. I like what I like, and sometimes it can be a little limiting to my growth, or to my artistry. And I have really opened up a lot more in that way. Even just working with Doc Jr., I would have never thought that I would. I know I wanted to work with him, but I before, maybe a few years ago, I never would have thought that I would just do a digitally produced song. Not to down it or anything. It's just I love the sound of live instruments. That is just, I love that, and I'll always love that. But yeah, I definitely have grown in being more open to exploring different ways of getting of expressing myself musically. I'll also say that just having more of my person, because I don't want to say just personality, but just more of who I am in my music, and being a little more vulnerable, which you may not see quite yet, but you will see soon in my future projects. Being more vulnerable and transparent in just me. I like to tell stories, and they're not always about me. A lot of them are just what I see in the world. But I definitely am going to be opening up a lot more about myself and just everything. Nah, I don't want to scare you, but just, right. Because I really don't talk about a lot of uh, painful things. Just me as a person. I don't really express that too often, just because I just want to look on the bright side, because that. But and it's interesting that I say this today, because I had a vocal lesson with my vocal teacher today, and she was talking about that, how you don't want to not talk about the painful things, because that does help people get through. It helps other people. It helps you to get through. And it's not about who you are. It's just where you were at that time. And I was like, that is so right. And so I've definitely been kind of doing a lot more of that in my music. So excited about that.
Interesting, yeah, because listening to a lot of your past work, I definitely didn't catch a lot of like the hard times songs. There wasn't
Mm-hmm.
a whole lot of that. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll be able to do that though, to share the tough times of your life?
Right, right. Yeah, great question. It definitely will take courage, and everybody has their own struggles. Um, and I don't want to say mine is. this or that at that level or what have you. But everybody's pain is their own pain that they have to deal with. And I think for me to not talk about it or express it because I don't think it's of this magnitude or it is of this magnitude, either or. I think it is still important to share. So I believe I can do it.
Maybe kind of start like small with the breakup song
Right.
because everyone has a couple of breakup songs. Everyone's got that.
Oh yeah. You got that right. You got that right. And everybody can relate to those.
Every single time. Every single time. And
Yes.
then you kind of work your way up to the heavier stuff.
Right. Yep. That's good.
All right. I want to ask about living in New York City because, as you mentioned, you've only been there for a couple of years, and you grew up in North Carolina. What happened
Hmm.
that you said, okay, heading up north, and what's it been like to be in such a huge, like, cultural and musical hub?
Hmm. Yeah. When I went to college, I went to college in Boston and music school there, and that was probably the first time I ever lived in the city type uh, area, and I really enjoyed that. But prior to that, I visited New York quite a few times, and it's just magic every time. And I just love it. I love the city. I love the lights. I love the fast pace. Of course, I'm a country girl at heart, and I love some flower fields and walking barefoot, and I love that as well. But definitely, New York being such an iconic music hub, I knew that I had to at least experience that, at some point. I've always wanted to live here, and the 2 years before I moved here, I realized it was time to go ahead and get it going here, and so I just kind of prepared in that way, and made the move. Yeah.
I'm curious about what your folks' reaction was when you said, hey, so I'm going to be leaving and going to New York City.
They are so supportive in everything
Nice.
I do. Yeah. I mean, you really can't ask for um, a better support system than them. And uh, my parents actually um, met in New York. My mom grew up in Brooklyn, and so we've always had a connection to New York. And I do have some family here, and so they were on board. They were totally on board.
That is so cool too because I feel like it's some like you're pitching them this like dual big change that you want to go to New York City and you want to pursue music. And I think
Mhm.
for a lot of parents, it might be like, well, okay, maybe we can not do one of those things.
Not doing one of those things. Right, right. Well, my both of my parents love the arts, so they've always encouraged us to do whatever we want to do, really, as far as goals and dreams. But they've always encouraged the arts. My mom, she did acting and modeling and things like that when she was younger. And my dad, he does the visual art thing, and so I've always been um, not many of my family members do music per se, but I've always been around the arts, and I just kind of gravitated to music. So yeah, it was very natural in that way.
Hmm. When did you know that you wanted to pursue music as a career?
I knew that I wanted to do music all my life. I'm trying to think of pinpoint a specific time. My mom always tells this story, so I'll tell it to you. This is when she knew. uh, I grew up in North Carolina, and it's the hub for schools, universities and colleges, and well, Boston is as well. But there's so many great schools in North Carolina, and I remember my mom talking to me about um, going to visit some schools in North Carolina, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go to music school, so I think I'm good. And she was like, okay. But then she would keep asking me about it. Like, okay, so, we're going to go visit some schools. And each time I was just like, no, Mom, I don't mind going to visit them, but I really don't see the point because I'm going to go to music school. And so, from then on, she was really, even the driving force of me uh, going to music school and continuing with music. Yeah, I think that's when I knew. I guess maybe in middle school, I knew I wanted to do music forever, and high school definitely. As I got older and older, it became more and more clear. So
Mm. I want to ask about life in Boston when you went to Berklee College of Music, because I lived in Boston for a number of years. I knew a
right.
lot of Berklee cats over the years. What did you go to school for, and do you feel like you've learned more from being just like out there performing?
Yeah, I went to school for business, music business. So that is my degree. I focused on jazz singing, jazz voice, while I studied there. But of course, we do all the style, all different types of styles while we're there. Even a little bit of classical, not too much, but I did more classical in high school. Um, but going to Berkeley, I definitely learned a ton. And yeah, it's this was the saying they would always tell us. You get out what you put in, and it is key to network. So of course, you learn a lot in your classes from your teachers, but you learn a ton from your peers as well. So it's really that balance. You obviously have to go to class, and you want to go to class to learn. That we had there are amazing teachers that I was able to learn from. I'm grateful, and get with your friends. I got with a lot of my friends, and I learned from them, and even just. Working to get yourself some gigs out in the community and out in the venues and stuff like that. Yeah, you learn a lot by just being in what you're studying.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Best part of living in Boston?
Well, the best part of living in Boston, I would say, as a college student, you really experience that level of freedom, right? Even though I had a little bit of that because I went to a boarding arts school, and so I was still away from home, but it's still a little different because you're in high school, you're still a kid, right? So definitely that level of freedom, and being in Boston was such a great experience because there's so many schools, and people your age just soaking it up and learning and exploring. And it's such a great time in that time of your life to be doing that in such a great city. I really enjoyed it. So definitely being able to just explore the city and have things to do, and have places to go, was probably one of the best things about Boston. It just the city, the architecture, the history, the restaurants. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of things.
One of the things that I loved most was just the views, especially being on
Yes.
the Mass Ave Bridge, which leads to MIT
Yes.
at night, seeing the
Yes.
whole city lit up. It's
Mm.
never ceases to just blow me away.
Yes, it's beautiful. Yes.
Now, did you get a chance to check out any of the venues there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I got to check out some venues, got to perform in some venues. So yeah, it's definitely the music scene there is a little tough. It's a little tough, and it's uh, the level of toughness is kind of increasing just with how the world is running right now. Unfortunately, a lot of venues are closing down there, and yeah, it's rough, but yeah, I was able to do that, and I really enjoyed my time in the venues and gigs and things like that. Yeah,
Did you have a favorite?
i I did. I would say Riles. Riles, which is in Cambridge, is a jazz venue there. I played a lot there. That was probably where I played the most. My friends used to say that's my second home. And I just loved it. I loved the people and the staff there, and the venue was great. Um, yeah, that was my favorite. They're unfortunately not open any longer, but yeah, that was my favorite.
Nice, nice. I always loved Sinclair, but I always
Uh-huh.
loved the openness of it. Just it was just a big open area, upstairs open area. So I really loved
Yeah.
that. I loved being able to get that kind
Yeah.
of view of the bands and the crowds, and they did some of
Yes.
my favorite shows.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. I hadn't had the chance to perform there, but yeah, I got to see some great shows there. So yeah, definitely great venue.
Hmm. Now, do you see
Yeah.
yourself as being in New York City for the long haul, or is this more of a trial phase where you see if it works for you?
Good question. Yeah, I think everything is kind of a trial to see how it goes, but I definitely hope to be here for the long run. So yeah, that's the
Oh,
hope.
all right. So we opened this show talking about your new single, Away, and
Mhm.
this is all leading into your forthcoming debut full length album, which is going to be happening later on this year. Tell us a little more about this one.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. I am going to be releasing a second single um, in the spring, so hopefully in about a month or two, maybe a couple months. I'll be releasing a second single and video, and that is called Skin. So another layered song. but yeah, so my debut album is going to be called Back to Me, and it really talks about a lot of that the personal things I was mentioning earlier, just about myself, and just opening up a lot more about who I am and things that I've experienced, and deeper thoughts that I don't always share with people. um family things, family issues, overcoming things. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
It definitely sounds like you're going to be taking on some of those like heavier topics with this one.
Hmm. Definitely. And I'm honestly really excited about it, because I can't even really put my finger on why. I think just getting it, not just getting it out, but I think just sharing it in this way. You always have your close friends that you talk about things to, but it's like a project, and I can really be creative with it and express it in a cool way, and hopefully a beautiful way.
Hmm.
So.
Do you think you'll be going in some new directions musically as well, like you did for Away?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think so. Definitely gonna keep the R&B and neo soul and jazz and hip hop, and um maybe even a little bit of pop in there, but definitely keeping it in that realm. But yeah, definitely have some songs that are gonna be going in a different direction. I even am including a little bit of rock and roll in some of the arrangements. So
I
yeah, I'm
like
excited
it.
about
I
that.
like it a lot. Very cool. All right.
Mhm.
Well, Leah, thank you once again for joining me today. This has been a ton of fun.
Yes.
And for the folks at home, go to leahhinton.com for all
Yes.
the information. Check out Away. It's an absolutely amazing song. And of course, the forthcoming debut full length album later on this year. And Leah, thanks again. And definitely hope we can do this
Yes.
again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Max.
Hey, this is singer-songwriter and mental health advocate Stephanie Matthias. Be sure to check out my single Hero Side, available on all platforms now, and listen to Citywide Blackout, your home for the best indie artists.
Okay, everyone, that brings this episode to a close. Big thanks to Leah for joining me, and definitely check out Away. It's an amazing song, and there is much more music to come. You can follow the show on Facebook under Citywide Blackout, and Twitter and Instagram under Citywide Max. Get at me at citywidemax@yahoo.com, and check out the show wherever you find your podcasts. as well as every Saturday at 10 p.m. on Boston Free Radio. To close things out, here is Away, and I really think you'll enjoy it. As always, keep those ears open.
There's something about your eyes. Every day they see right through my soul. And I don't even have to say everything I'm thinking you already know. Oh, something about your words. Every breath brings new life in a new way. It's like I'm falling up and down. The closer to you, the more I slip away. Oh, away, 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 away. Got me slipping away, away, reflection resembles you more and more. Oh, who you are is me now. I'm going up higher and higher. Oh, I'm soaring, I'm soaring. Away, 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 got me slipping away, away.
My own image when I envision you. I know limits, but no limits are what I get when you embrace me. Time can't even chase me. It stands still until reality can replace me. I'm frozen with you, hoping to move into eternity like it's our new home permanently, cause you can't do wrong. I am old, so I emote heavily whenever I get the chance to show you how much I devote my future and all my plans to our union. We're past losing, they can see your perfection through me like I'm translucent. It's that fluent, you're past human, but my imagination wants to bring you back to it just so I can feel deserving of you. It's that prudent, so without further ado, a duet of divinity I'm urging you to all listen to, cause we go together better than jazz and rap music. It's that killing, but without your sample I'm slipping away.